SLOW Eigo audio reader, Book 1. Stories from an ALT in Japan. Part 1. The Start of Something New. Chapter 3. Flying to Japan. The flight from Vancouver was about 10 hours. Not bad, I suppose. But Canada is a big country. For the ALTs flying from Montreal and Toronto, the trip was 4 or 5 hours longer. And for those coming from Halifax on the East Coast, it meant at least one stopover and almost 20 hours of travel in total. There were several pre-departure meetings for our group, so we were quite comfortable with each other when we boarded the plane. There was a mix of excitement and nervousness in the air. It all felt a little unreal. When the flight announcements began, the reality of going to live in Japan started to set in. When flying in Canada, the flight announcements are always in both French and English. But on this flight, the announcements were in French, English, and Japanese. I took a crash course in Japanese in the months before my departure. But I didn't understand a word of the Japanese announcements. Not a word. It hit me how challenging everyday communication might be. Looking around the cabin, it seemed that about half of the passengers were Japanese. I wondered if they were returning from a holiday, or perhaps worked or studied in Canada and were taking a trip home to visit friends and family. It got me thinking about what it must be like to live and work in a foreign country. I chuckled and thought to myself, well, I'm about to find out. Some of my colleagues were able to sleep on the plane, but I was much too pumped to sleep. When we arrived at Narita Airport, we had lost a day due to the time difference. It was mid-afternoon and it was sweltering hot.